So there is a good amount of stink out there about ecchi. It's by no means my favorite genre, but I'm not the kind of person to go out and decry all ecchi and fan service as some horrible crime against humanity that must be removed at all costs because it's destroying anime. I don't think any of that. I don't particularly have a problem with it if it's done right. Basically, it's not my usual thing, but I'm not opposed to its existence. But that doesn't mean I won't criticize a specific series that falls into this genre, though, and that doesn't mean I won't have beef with that series, because what the hell is wrong with Beihei Neko? Look, there are limits to what I can entertain myself with. If risque content solely for the sake of risque content is your thing, more power to you. But this series has nothing that is traditionally enjoyable about anime. Storytelling? The writing is so bad it's laughable, creating absolutely stupid scenarios based on the most retarded series of events just to have an excuse to cover a girl in jizz. Characters literally just exist to be excuses for boobage on screen. Imagine the most basic and bland of fantasy anime characters you can think of, add on a pair of massive tits, and you've got this series cast in the bag. The only interesting one is the knight who's been reincarnated as a cat, because at least he has some interesting dynamics going for him. Everyone else is just kind of generic female character. Action and animation, you'd find better sequences in a low-budget hentai, and that's not the only thing that hentai would be better at than this series. Look, lewd, risque stuff and fan service are the garnish that spices the whole dish up. Not the entire damn dish itself. You could put ketchup on a lot of things, but it's not supposed to be guzzled by the gallon. If your quote-unquote writing solely exists to enable the dumbest of lewd gags, then I'm sorry, but I think your series is trash. And I'm being as objective as I possibly can about that. Want proof? A professional blacksmith can't figure out how to make a smaller weapon. Episode 2 of this series rolls around and our main girl, the elf Tits McBimbo, is struggling to use her swords because they're too heavy for her and thus slowing her down in combat because the weight is generally too much. Now, keep in mind that swords are usually only a couple of pounds, and the fact that they're holding her back so much that she can't dodge attacks is ridiculous. So she goes to her blacksmith friend and asks her to reforge them. Now, the blacksmith responds that she can't alter the blades anymore, otherwise they'll become structurally compromised and prone to breaking easily. Okay, makes sense. So, any monkey out of the jungle could tell you, hey, maybe you just make a smaller weapon that doesn't have as much material in it to begin with. Anyone in this trade worth their salt would probably be able to figure this out on the spot, but the plot needs an excuse to have our elf girl run up against phallic-looking tentacle monsters called ropers that spew white goo everywhere and have the ability to reproduce with any species that our main character, the cat, ends up acquiring because he eats one of them. Anyway, Blacksmith Girl gets the idea to delve into the dungeon so she can watch Tits McBimbo fight the penis monster, and then comes to the conclusion that the girl needs a set of knives, not swords. And that's on top of all of the generic fantasy anime elements and barely existent stories centered around the vague concepts of demons and heroes. Am I over-examining this dumb lewd booby series? Probably. Hell, most definitely, okay? I know people are likely going to respond acting like my problem is the fact that it's a lewd anime, but no, that's not the issue. It's the fact that I don't get why people would consume this kind of content that is solely lewd with nothing else of merit. I mean, I get it. Some series are only in existence to entertain lewd content. The operative word there, however, being entertain. But when you're writing porn parody level stories as an excuse to have a lewd show, why not just make it the full-on hentai? Again, I'm not saying that this kind of stuff can't exist, or that the lewd content in and of itself is the issue. What I'm saying is that there's pretty much no reason for this to exist, considering it's supposed to be enjoyed for all the same reason as hentai for the naughty bits. Effectively, it feels like it's hentai written for people who don't want to admit they enjoy hentai. This is why I tend to bash on ecchi as a genre in anime more than any other. It's not that it has lewd or risque content, or that it can't produce good shows. One of my favorite romance mangas is Sweat and Soap, and that is, spicy at times. I actually think romance is a bit better with a little bit of spice thrown in here and there. I think it does a good bit for the story. Hell, I've even read the manga for 2.5D Seduction, and that is very explicit at times. But the difference between those series that I've mentioned and this series that I'm talking about now is that those actually had something other than sexuality to enjoy. Look, my opinion on this is that ecchi is best when it's just a genuinely good story with some spice to it, not when it behaves like defective porn. Have all the boobies you want, I don't give a flying fuck, just don't insult me with your piss poor porn parody writing. Scratch that, I'd take porn parody writing over this. I'm actually more insulted by the fact that it tries to pass on this level of writing as a story than I am about the bestiality part of this series. Which is an insane thing to say, sure, but it's true. This series has pretty much epitomized one of the things that I dislike about the general fan service category of anime, the favoring of the actual fan service and lewd content over good characters and proper story. The stuff that actually makes an anime really good.